We begin the news at this hour in West Africa, where the House of Representatives on Tuesday, February 6th, held the second edition of its sectoral debates and dialogue built for the financial sector. It featured key stakeholders, including the Minister of Finance, Minister of Budget and Planning, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Now, during his presentation, the CBN Governor Olayemi Doso highlighted the efforts undertaken by the bank to address inflation and forex liquidity in the foreign exchange market. The stakeholders further stated that the current administration is taking bold steps to steer the Nigerian economy in the right direction.
The team and I are dedicated to refocusing the bank by giving primacy to price stability. We also aim to build confidence in the Nigerian economy through the maintenance of stability in consumer prices and the foreign exchange market. We are aware that the twin challenges of inflation and exchange rate depreciation on our economy are daunting. However, they are not insurmountable. Monetary policy actions are sometimes inhibited by transmission lags. Nonetheless, it is expected that the policy measures implemented by the bank will permeate the economy in the short to medium term.
The two budgets, in particular the 2024 budget, has significantly delivered on deficit reduction. We delivered a budget that has the highest capital expenditure in the last 2 decades.
Before the implementation of the 8-point agenda of the president began, we were in an unsustainable place in terms of the fiscal situation of Nigeria. We were on the road to economic disaster. We had expenditure which was wasteful and unsustainable by way of the subsidy, not just on fuel, but the subsidy on foreign exchange. In turning back from that road, as we have heard, there will be dust. However, bold measures have been taken, and there have been positive results.
Esther Awuni, head News Central's business desk, joins me to unpack this. Thank you so much for your time, Esther. And of course, let's get to it. Now, why the choice of these 4 ministries, at the, of course, hearing today?
Well, it's not too surprising, the choice of those 3 institutions and that one agency, the FIRS, because the successful coordination in the activities is going to determine how successful the fiscal authorities are going to be, especially around raising revenue. For instance, the federal government needs the CBN to bring down inflation. The federal government needs the Ministry of Budget and National Planning to help coordinate its budget deficit financing activities. The government needs the FIRS to help it achieve its revenue targets, especially around the budget for 2024. So very key in how successful this government is moving forward. But let me start with the FIRS chairman in terms of what was said and some of the key highlights. The FIRS chairman, he was quite ambitious and he seemed quite confident and quite ambitious. And I know that for this year, the FIRS has a 19 trillion naira target. Now that's quite ambitious, but I would say that perhaps he has bragging rights, because last year the FIRS had, I believe it had a projection or a target of just over, I think exactly 10.7 trillion naira, but it was able to raise over 12 trillion naira. Now it wants to raise 19 trillion naira. That's just under 7 trillion naira. Very ambitious, but if you think about it, Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio is somewhere around 10.8%. But if you look at the average, the sub-Saharan Africa average, that's about 16%. So there's the argument that yes, there's room to increase that number, but there's also several other arguments around who is the government taxing in the first place. We know that a large portion of Nigerians live under the poverty line, but I know that a lot of it will come from, of course, taxing companies, payees, and all of that. But if he was able to raise over 12 trillion in 2023, perhaps he could raise 19 trillion this year. But overall, that would definitely be fantastic for the fiscal authorities. Now, right.
I mean, interesting stuff that, of course, quite a number of them said. But do you think they made convincing arguments, particularly on the issue of getting, the economy, running again? I mean, you talked about the FIRS having a target of about 19 trillion naira when it comes to target. And then the question that you also asked is, who are those that will be tasked? As at, I think last year, when they were sort of doing a survey as regards the industry that made, or the sector that made profit, it was more of the banking sector, not even manufacturing, right? That made, turnovers when it comes to, excess money. So looking at the reality on ground, I mean, you talked about the FIRS, for instance, being ambitious. How achievable or convincing would you say some of their presentations are?
So for the FIRS, I'll wrap up quickly with the FIRS. He did say that the FIRS has the technology, has the processes, and has the people to achieve this target. The reason why I'm not going to say too much as far as FIRS is concerned is because year after year, they actually do meet their targets. So I'll move over to the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance. I mean, he is a coordinating minister for the economy, so I'll start also with him. To be honest, I was expecting more from his presentation. He started by saying that the economy, economically speaking, we are far better off now than we were on May 29, 2023. I think that's debatable because, especially when one considers where inflation is today, where the strength of the naira is, and the cost of living crisis that we're all experiencing now. Although he did mention that some bold reforms have been taken, especially the removal of fuel subsidy, harmonizing the FX markets, etc. But one key point that he did mention, and he did say that for this economy to get off the ground, we need to bring inflation down. And that, of course, sending the ball again to the court of the CBN. But the problem with bringing inflation down, and the CBN has a target of 21%, we're currently at just over 28%. The problem with bringing inflation down, which the CBN will have an issue with, and also the Ministry of Finance, is that a large component of the consumer price index, and that's food inflation, constitutes at least 33%. Why is that so? There is food insecurity in the food belt. Farmers are being displaced, have been displaced by banditry, insurgency, climate change, flooding, etc. Many of them have not gone back to their farms. Many of them, I mean, we hear unconfirmed stories of some of them having to even pay taxes to bandits, etc. So that would be a key challenge, because if you want to stimulate the economy, you need to grow agricultural production, which is one thing that both the finance minister and the CBN governor pointed to. But how do you boost agricultural production when many parts of the food belt and the northern part of the country where food is made is grown, farmers are being challenged? So obviously they have their work cut out for them. But for the CBN governor, obviously big elephant in the room, the naira. He did talk about all the efforts, initiatives that have been taken, especially in the last, I'm sure you saw all the circular after circular in the last 3 weeks, all to stabilize the naira. That hasn't happened, but I think what's also important for the CBN to send out that signal to investors, both domestic and foreign, that work is being done.
But sorry to cut in, Esther, but do you think the CBN governor actually did say anything new? Because I listened to quite a number of the things he said. He highlighted the fact that Nigerians studying abroad, talking about the value of the naira, why it keeps part of the reasons why it keeps dropping is we have Nigerians schooling abroad. Quite a number of transactions happen in foreign currency, so there's an outflow, right? More than an inflow. So I mean, these, for me personally, I feel okay. We already know this. Anything new? Do you think he said anything out of the ordinary to actually address, the current situation, particularly with the naira?
I think one thing that the CBN governor was trying to establish, because no matter what you do as a regulator, obviously you can try to make the environment palatable. You could try to ensure that market participants play by the rule. But as far as the naira-dollar relationship is concerned, it's all determined by the dynamics of supply and demand. And he did say that we found ourselves in an unfortunate situation where we're seeing a shortage in supply coinciding with a surge in demand, which is why he highlighted the increase in the number of students who have since 1999 or 1991 increased dramatically up until now. So obviously there is pressure, and our dollar sources are not bringing in, are not able to keep up with the demand. But I'd like to point out something that he said at the beginning, which was sort of like a throwaway, but I thought it was quite important. He did say that globally, central bank governors are going to be focusing on fighting inflation and restrictive monetary tightening policies. Now, that is important for us because one of the things that the central bank or the government, through the monetary authorities, wants to do is bring in foreign portfolio investors. These are your bond investors, your equity investors who come from outside of the country, bring their money in. It's also called hot money, but money all the same. We need it anyways for our FX reserves. Now, because the US Federal Reserve has hiked interest rates consistently in the last 2 years, and now the central bank, the US Fed, has said that it may not, at least in the near term, reduce those rates, because the labor market is tight, meaning that there's so many jobs being created. Last week alone, the US reported jobs of 350,000, which is almost double what it had expected. So the labor market is tight. So that has implications for inflation because you have more people with more jobs, more spending, higher inflation. So obviously the Fed has to keep those interest rates high. And if we have those interest rates high, there is no incentive for foreign portfolio investors to bring their monies to frontier or emerging markets, frontier markets such as ours, because interest rates in the US bond market is higher and more attractive. Why expose yourself to a volatile frontier market in Africa when you can make easy money in a safe market like the global markets, like the US market? So I thought that was an important point to bring up.
All right, Esther, just before I let you go in 30 seconds, away from the theoretical, rhetoric that, we saw, in reality, I'm talking about the price of goods in the market at the micro level, the family level, the basic level. Is it looking good for Nigeria economically?
Well, to be honest, and my personal opinion, I think it may get tough, a little tougher before it gets better, because all the reforms that have been taken at the same, one after the other, both the fiscal side, as removing the fuel subsidy, et cetera, the central bank governor trying to strengthen the Naira, et cetera, that would take time. It could take several months, but the expectation is that perhaps somewhere around H2, that's half year, we may begin to see some respite, some relief. So for households, inflation is still projected to increase, but I'm not sure about that 21% that is the target that the CBN governor has. I don't know how he plans to achieve it, but households can expect to continue to feel the pain, at least for the first half of the year, and hopefully we can all just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best.
Thank you so much for your time. Esther Idawene, Head, News Central's Business Desk. Once again, thank you. In a related development, Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, has accused opposition parties of instigating mass protest across some major cities in the country to undermine the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. On Monday, protesters, including women and youths, blocked major roads in Minna, the Niger state capital, to register their displeasure over the rising cost of living. The protesters said the rising cost of food items and poor government efforts to arrest the situation forced them to block major roads so that the government would hear their cry. A day after the Niger protest and a similar one in Kano State, the APC National Publicity Secretary, that's Felix Morka, said the demonstrations were devious and unpatriotic. Now, bread bakers in Nigeria have cautioned at the continuous hike in the price of all baking supplies has become a threat to the industry. Now, commenting on the situation, Richard Adeyemi, Secretary of the Abuja chapter of the Association of Master Bakers and Caterers of Nigeria, said the hike in prices towards the last quarter of 2023 forced many members out of business. In this report, News Central's Perpetual Fasumi Peter speaks to some businesses within the bread-making value chain to establish the cause of the frequent hikes and also prefer a lasting solution. Her report.
Bread is a staple food for many families in Nigeria. However, the continuous consumption of this staple food in many households is under threat, as many bread makers downed tools on Monday, February 5, in reaction to a recent hike in the price of essential ingredients like sugar, flour, butter, and yeast.
Bags of sugar I got was 62, but presently, as at today, is about 74,000. That's 12,000 naira increase. And for flour, I got the last batch at 43,500. As at present, is about 50,000 naira per bag. So as at present, we are not actually working, because if you look at the range that at which the increase came in, it's not possible to actually continue business and have the same price going forward.
We notice that immediately increment comes on dollar, they'll start to increase their price. So that's the reason why even today, as I'm telling you today, I've not sold out a flour because I noticed that they are not working. They didn't work. None of the bakery that works today.
This price movement will undoubtedly have a domino effect on the value chain, from the millers down to the final bread consumer.
If you look at the prices we are actually looking at, the commensurate increment will be about 50 naira, 100 naira. But for an average household, I increase in the bride of price for like 50 naira. Then somebody that is selling sausage increases for 50 naira. Somebody that is into anything in the flour business is always 50 naira there, 100 naira there. Before you know it, you're already talking about 1,000 naira for an household.
The flour you see is not made in Nigeria. It's milled in Nigeria, but the wheat that is milled is imported.
Nigeria, blessed with rich human and natural resources, still sources most of its inputs abroad, making it susceptible to external shocks.
If we have invested in backward integration, we will be harvesting locally most of those things. And I hope that if we're intentional and lobby private sector to open the opportunities, and private sector leverages on the opportunities, we would be able to, have less dependence and demand for dollars.
The reality is that this issue goes beyond just bread. It is about food security and the well-being of millions of Nigerians. This reality makes it imperative for the private sector to play a more prominent role, to invest in local production of key ingredients, foster collaboration between stakeholders, and explore alternative sources as a crucial step towards a sustainable future. In Lagos, for News Central.
Meanwhile, many residents in Nigeria's capital Abuja say they fear bread, an essential food for many families, might soon be out of reach because of the soaring price of flour now affecting the cost of bread. Some of them spoke to News Central television crew in Abuja saying it is increasingly becoming difficult to buy bread for the family because of the rising inflation affecting residents. Now, News Central's Marvelous Obomanu visited the Mpape area of Abuja and now reports.
Bread is a staple food consumed by both the poor and rich in Nigeria and can be found in every store, shop, eatery, mall, or even motor parks because of its affordability. It is found on breakfast tables of many families, highlighting its importance as an essential food item. Made with flour, sugar, egg, yeast, and other items regarded as essentials, the rising cost of these items is now affecting the overall price of bread.
I'll show them this one, 1,500. Now you buy them. 1,500 naira. This one come?
The bread sellers here have expressed displeasure over the rising cost of bread in the market. Some of them have attributed the increment to the rising cost of buying flour, sugar, and milk. Some of them say before now they used to buy up to 20 baskets in a day, but because of the increment and the low turnout of customers, they now end up selling just 2 or 3 baskets.
They tell us, say, sugar, now 70,000. A bag of flour, 80,000. So now wait till they complain, say, it costs when you make bread, it can't cost. So amount of bread where we supposed to buy before, we no fit buy them again. And customer, when they follow, they buy, they complain. Say money no day, and they increase things.
This one 1, 2, very light. Very, very light. It's not heavy. 1, 2. And I need one. I'm feeling hungry now. If I reach home, may I eat something? They say 1, 3. I never buy waiting, I will take eat it.
The bread they here now, they roti for here, they buy and costly. Because waiting there for market, they don't fit buy and make up.
Some of the bread sellers lament the current price of the commodity, now well above 1,000 naira, saying it is affecting their businesses as they are witnessing low patronage.
Bread when we supposed to sell 1,000, now 1,500. When they not get the money, how they go take buyer? No way. They go just waka come out. We go just there here, they look our market, we know they say.
You get one man, one of my customers, every blessing day they buy bread. But now, even a week, I never see them. They know they buy steady.
Although the sellers say, due to the current price, buying in large quantities is no longer feasible. This, in turn, is taking its toll on customers.
If I buy one, immediately when I reach home, me and my children fry. That one will finish. And know that the things is moving, the market is not moving. For me to able to be affording that 1.5 every week to buy bread, to do tea for them to go to school.
I have a son. I always buy all those things for him. But for now, I can't afford it anymore because of the price.
Before, if I want to buy bread, sometimes I dey buy like 10 baskets of bread. Sometimes they buy 20. But now, I don't even buy reach 4.
I will free buy this one 20 and I go sell them because that time na 1,000. But now, they sell it to 1,100. They sell them 1,200.
With inflation biting hard on many households in Nigeria, the perishable nature of bread is not helping matters. Sellers say they are making losses because of poor sales, a situation grossly affecting their businesses. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
Almost 9 months after the immediate past governor of Delta State, South Nigeria, Ifeanyi Okowa, handed over power to Sheriff Oborovwori as governor of the all-rich Niger Delta State. But it seems their relations remain unbroken. The current governor has come to the public to proclaim that his predecessor, that's Okowa, does not interfere in the governance of the state. He pointed out that unlike the former governors of some states, but the past immediate governor respect the office of the governor. Now, Governor Oborovwori disclosed this at an event in Sapele where Okowa was also in attendance. The governor's public utterance was against many speculations making the round about the past governor's political romance with the current governor and the governance of the state. To discuss this further, I am being joined by the convener and chairperson, that's Integrity Group of Delta State, Dr. Oke Idawene. And of course, we will be joined much later by the General Secretary of the National Democratic Watch Group. Doctor, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, God bless you.
All right, now let's...
all over the world.
Great. Now, behind every successful transition of or political handover of government, it seems a robust political marriage usually exists between the outgoing or the outgone and the incumbent. Now, how has the governance of Delta State been since the current governor took over mantle of leadership almost 9 months ago?
Yeah, I bring you greetings from Delta State, and we are active political leaders in the states. I want to emphatically tell you this afternoon that the state has been peaceful. The leadership of the state has been cordial. They have gone into leadership with full force. The governor is working assiduously for democratic dividends, and leadership between him and immediate past governor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, our father, is cordial. There is no acrimony, no Cold War, no issues in Delta State. And that is why you see him, since he emerged as a governor, they have developmental projects like Genjatic, Julius Berger project you have seen, he swung into action, like paying off accrued arrears of civil servants, employing teachers, completing the project of the immediate past governor, commissioning the roads. So if there were acrimony, there will not be smooth transition and running of government. So I tell you today that Delta State is in safer hands and the governor is in charge of Delta State. No issues.
Why do you think, I mean, this speculation is rife, that maybe the past governor seems to interfere in the governance of the state, irrespective of the fact that there is a new person on seat?
That news or that rumor, I call it unfounded rumor. It is from the pit of hell and by distractors of our governance here in Delta. Because from the word go, if you watch every public outing in Delta organized by the governor, the immediate past governor is there as a father. What they have is a cordial relationship, and people are misunderstanding it for somebody being a stooge or being in charge or somebody being in charge. Now, the moment a husband is loved by the wife and the wife is loved by the husband will be called woman rapper when you love your wife. Now, bringing it to leadership, somebody must lead the way for you to be a governor in the entire nation. The godfatherism in Delta, it is not as prominent as it is in other states. What we have here, all the rumors you're hearing, they are unfounded by distractors of this government. The governor, I repeat, is in charge of the administration of the states. The state ESCO are under him directly, and that is why he had even suspended a sitting commissioner recently because he's in charge. So you cannot say anybody telling you something different.
I mean, you said you suspended the sitting commissioner recently because he's in charge. It could have been from maybe just, let me play the role of, in your words, distractors right now, maybe on the advice of the past governor. Don't you think?
Let me tell you something. The governor has an advisory council chaired by seasoned elders and leaders in the states. Don't forget, the immediate past governor is an active striker in governance who has just stepped aside because of constitutional matters. He cannot lead more than 2 tenures. Now, being a PDP man, a PDP leader in the state, it almost lies on him to advise a sitting governor. And it's not by compulsion, it's not by coercion, it's by mutual understanding. He can advise him. But I tell you, he was even outside the country when he suspended the city commissioner. Are you following me? So
yes, I can. I can hear you well.
He can be a technical advisor to him, not a problem. But the issue to say that a sitting governor, the immediate past governor, is the one telling you what to do, these are ways, like I told you, once you love your wife, you are a woman rapper in Nigeria. And it's preposterous. It's unacceptable for people to be giving such assertions because they are all offended, and we say no to it. It has to stop. It has to stop. The government is running well, is performing perfectly well, and every of the more agenda, like the immediate past governor had a smart Delta agenda. This governor have the more agenda, supported by his wife, Umaru Charity Foundation projects. So they are channeling all what they have to this vision, supported by everybody in Delta, including us, including the immediate past governor, who is a father to all of us. You can't throw your father because you are a governor. He can also advise you, but he's not in charge of the state. In terms of administration, it's fallacy from the pit of hell.
So you are saying categorically that the current governor has the capacity to hold the state together without the interference of the past governor. I mean, that is pretty much established. But I would also like you to clarify this. It took the current governor almost 9 months to complete his cabinet members. Now, what possibly could be the reason, apart from what the governor, might have said concerning this?
If you look at all the cabinets in the entire nation, they took similar dimensions. It is customary, it is traditional in Nigeria governance to scrutinize, to lobby, to adjust, to cross the T's and dot the I's, to constitute your ESCO, to avoid errors. So what you saw in the delay was not because there was acrimony or argument from a quarter, but we were trying to harness every resources together to ensure we come out with the young, middle-aged, and elderly capacity people to become state members of the executive. And it didn't take the government 9 months. It took about 5 months for us to get that, not 9 months. Even the president of the country took almost 8 months to get the ministerial cabinet. So our governor has the capacity. He is a divine mandate. He's a man down to earth. He's someone tested and trusted. A speaker in the state for 2 tenures, has the tenacity, has the experience, has the reach out, has everything resources-wise to lead Delta State. And here we are. We are rejoicing because we have a divine mandate who is the Moses of our time.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Oke Idawene. That's Convener and Chairperson, Integrity Group of Delta State. Once again, we appreciate your time.
We support good governance.
All right, now let's, of course, move to other stories where Nigeria's Ministry of Youth says its expected reforms in the ministry will boost productivity and improve efficiency in its operations. The minister, Jamila Bao Ibrahim, during a meeting with members of the management staff of the ministry, says several projects have been earmarked to help improve the capacity of staff and service delivery. Now, News Central's Marvelous Obomanu tells us more.
And senior officials of the Ministry of Youth in Abuja. The objective is to brainstorm on how to move the ministry forward and deliver on its expectations and mandate. Senior officials of the ministry say that the strategy section is in line with the nation's federal civil service strategy and implementation plan, which is expected to spur economic growth and development in the country.
This forum is going to be used to reawaken the officers to their responsibilities. It's going to be a monthly meeting where everybody will be here to present his papers for you to assess, and then to see how we are performing in implementing the programs of the ministry. We are also going to use this forum to invite anti-corruption agencies, other relevant experts to come and from time to time give us presentations on public service rules, financial regulations, public procurement acts, and public fiscal responsibility act, so that we ensure that whatever we are doing is within the ambit of the law. Whatever we are doing is within the laid down rules and regulations.
The Minister of Youth also adds that discussions surrounding the welfare of his staff and how to improve their capacity were also deliberated.
I just want to make an appeal to the Permanent Secretary to prioritize the welfare of staff, to ensure that even travel allowances are paid on time, and everything that the staff require to function at their optimal. We would like to advocate and appeal to the Permanent Secretary in this regard.
Further inform those present that efforts aimed at boosting staff confidence will be prioritized in a bid to drive the needed reforms in the ministry.
We hope that all departments will periodically update the ministry on progress, and then of course the progress of their activities. So all departments, we expect periodic updates.
We also have issues of digitalization. We want to go digital. We want to stop pushing files. We want to be paperless in administering our activities.
The minister assured that the meetings will become more regular to create room for the fertilization of ideas that will drive the ministry to a greater height. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control has issued a crucial public alert regarding the discovery of falsified herbal product in circulation. The counterfeit Coco Samba Herbal Mixture, 100 milliliters, was seized by German customs, in which analysis by the German official Medicines Control Laboratory revealed alarming findings. The falsified product contained undisclosed amount of sildenafil at 150 milligrams, now surpassing the recommended daily dose. The item is a medication for treating erectile dysfunction and pulmonary arterial hypertension. NAFDAC urges importers, distributors, retailers, and healthcare providers to exercise caution, avoiding the importation, distribution, sale, and use of falsified and substandard medicinal products, as it poses great health hazards, admonishing that those who have used the falsified product or experienced adverse reactions to seek medical immediate attention. Now, to discuss this further, I'm joined by a medical doctor, sexual reproductive health expert. That's Damian Avar, also known as Sabi Doctor. Thank you so much for your time, Sabi Doctor. Now, let's talk about the potential risk and side effects associated with consuming many of these herbal products.
Well, I think the one that comes to mind that has been, in the news is the issue of kidney problems. So we are seeing a rise in kidney related issues that are directly the result of consumption of this product. So that would be a low-hanging fruit to really hammer on. Another one could be even liver-related problems. So, of course, these products, most of them are not, they are ingredients. The composition of these products are not known. Some of these products or the compositions are actually harmful to the liver as well as other body organs. So you are having issues where, or cases where the kidneys are getting hammered, the liver is also getting hammered, as well as other body organs. So eventually people have chronic organ failure in the case of either liver or in the case of either liver or the kidney as well.
All right, now, why do you think many of these products, in spite of the many adverse effects, like some of which you've mentioned, are still very much addictive? You'll find out that a lot of people still use them. Several products, on the shelf, and people still go about buying them across, scarily across age brackets. Why do you think the addiction is so intense?
Well, for one thing, I'll say that it is due to ignorance. So many of the users of these products are not even aware of the potential side effects of consuming this medication. So there is the role that ignorance plays, as well as also the fact that for some of them, they offer some form of potency. So these users have like a motivation to want to use them. Of course, by the time we start discussing the constitutional makeup of this product, that's another ball game entirely. But again, for a good number of them, the users of this product are deriving some sort of satisfaction, which is prompting them to further use them the more. All right, so that's that about that.
Now, many of these products are sometimes deliberately used as sexual, enhancers. Now, what are the possible consequences when the ingredients interact with other products and individual may, have already been taken, to actually address other health conditions?
All right. So I read the publication to the effect of which NAFDAC was able to ban that particular product. I think it's Coco Samba. Yes. So I saw that during analysis, they discovered that the active ingredient in that particular product is sildenafil. Now, when managing erectile dysfunction, because most users of these products are men, and these are men with erectile dysfunction who are looking out for a remedy to help restore their sexual function.
Sorry to cut in, do they necessarily have erectile dysfunction, or is just a means to sort of impress?
Okay, so yes, there are two aspects to that. There are those who want to overperform, and there are those who legitimately have some background erectile dysfunction. So we have the youngsters who are using, in fact, that's even another angle to the whole problem that is quite disturbing. You are seeing a lot of young people, men who should not generally speaking, have issues with erectile dysfunction. They are using these products heavily. Anyways, the point here is, so for example, somebody who is hypertensive and is using this medication, the person is also on antihypertensive medications. We know that these products, due to their composition or the ingredients that make them up, they can further aggravate either the effect of the blood pressure medication. So in the instance where you are already taking blood pressure medications that are helping to lower your blood pressure, you can have a dose compounding effect, during which the blood pressure is further depressed as a result of this product that you are taking. So you might have a case where somebody is having respiratory depression. As a matter of fact, we have seen over the years instances during which people die during sexual activities upon the ingestion of some of these products. These are people who, as at then, had issues with their heart, either high blood pressure or some background heart illness that made the consumption of such products unsafe. All right, so there is that angle. Then there is one that is pretty common that we do not talk about a lot. It's called priapism. So, of course, these concoctions, these herbal preparations, because of the fact that you do not know the exact dose of the ingredients that are there, sometimes consumers can end up with what we call priapism, during which the erection persists more than 2 or, in fact, more than 4 hours in the absence of sexual stimulation. So you could have a state or an instance where the man has finished prosecuting the sexual activity, but the penis fails to go down, and it persists even in the absence of sexual stimulation. So usually, depending on the type of this priapism, the man may end up losing the function of his penis totally.
All right. Of course, we would have loved to continue this conversation, but we are pressed for time. Thank you so much for your time on the news. Of course, Damian Avar, medical doctor, sexual reproductive health expert, and of course, also popularly known as Sabi Doctor. Once again, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, now the news continues in West Africa, where lawmakers in Senegal voted late Monday to delay this month's presidential election until December. An unprecedented move that has sparked international concern over a country normally seen as a beacon of stability in West Africa. The bill was passed near unanimously, with 105 votes in favor and 1 against, after opposition deputies were forcefully removed from the chamber.
Développer un lexique de vocabulaire pour nous parler de dérogation, pour nous parler de suspension ou d'annulation, il ne s'agit rien d'autre que d'un prolongement du mandat du président de la République au-delà du terme qui est prévu par la Constitution. Il a prêté serment d'être le serviteur absolu de la nation. Mais vous avez constaté avec nous qu'il vient lui-même d'organiser un coup d'État constitutionnel. Le 2 avril, quel que soit ce qu'ils ont décidé, puisque l'article 103 de la Constitution dit que la durée du mandat du président ne peut faire l'objet de modification. Le 2 avril, comme Macky Sall lui-même lui avait dit à plusieurs reprises, son mandat prend fin.
Quand ils nous ont donné le texte, ils nous ont dit que les élections allaient avoir lieu au mois d'août, le 25 août. Les gendarmes nous ont évacués de la salle pour pouvoir faire passer l'amendement. Maintenant, les élections ne sont plus pour le 25 août, ils sont pour le 15 décembre. Donc, on est parti pour 1 an indu au président Macky Sall. Nous lançons un appel à un peuple. Le moment est venu de montrer que nous sommes un grand peuple. Le moment est venu de montrer que nous sommes des démocrates. Le moment est venu de montrer que notre souveraineté, elle nous appartient.
Let's also tell you that at least 11 villagers have died in attacks blamed on the Allied Democratic Forces rebel group in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Local officials said the ADF, a militia linked to the Islamic State group, launched raids in several villages in the Mombasa area of Ituri province on Monday morning. Head of a local civil group in the Babombi district of Mombasa, that's Mandela Moise, said 13 persons have been killed, most of them farmers. A police official in Mombasa district said 11 corpses had been found in different parts of the forest. The ADF is one of the deadliest militias in the strife-torn area and pledged allegiance to the Islamic State organization in 2019. And that's a wrap on the news at this hour, but before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you on the news that, of course, at least 11 villagers killed in attacks by ADF forces in DR Congo. We also told you that Senegal protest is on the edge as elections are again postponed. Again, finally, we also told you about, the unrest in DR Congo as a result of the incursion of militias. Now, don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakpo at Digboy.